In this video, I'm going to show you the design details of the fantastic little car that is the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. Go over the spec and tech, take it for a drive, and redesign some minor features in the front end. Let's get into it.
It is very hard to find a cooler car for sale today in 2023 than this. This is of course the 2023 Toyota Corolla GR. I love everything about this car because Toyota has shown here that you don't necessarily need a big V8 500 horsepower to create a fun car to drive. Honestly, most of the cases, the smaller the car, the more fun it is to drive. And here we just have a tiny little 1.6 liter 3-cylinder, but it still puts out 300 horsepower in this beautiful Gazoo racing package that we have on this Corolla. So what we're gonna do in this video is, of course, we need to talk about this design because this to me is a very special car. I'm very excited that Toyota decided to build this in 2023. Gonna have a look at the front end design, the side view with its big flared fenders, the rear, the interior, and then of course we're gonna take this for a drive.
Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 1.6 liter inline 3-cylinder putting out 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque, connected to a 6-speed manual transmission. It comes with all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 miles per hour takes 4.9 seconds. Fuel economy comes in at 21 city, 28 highway, and the price for all this magic comes in at a base price of $37,000.
Starting with the front end design of the Gazoo Racing Corolla, what I love about this design is that it is very much, there's a lot of lines going on here. It almost feels a little over stylized, but Toyota, they always have this capability of turning over something that would normally be considered over stylized and turn it into a beautiful package. So what we have in the front end and also in the rear, which I'm going to show you, is that all of these lines that you see in the front end, they all point towards the center, which is of course the Toyota logo. And then you have this big grille opening. Normally I'm not a huge fan of big grills like this, but for some reason I think it suits the GR Corolla to have the big mouth opening in the front end. You have the fog lights down here. There are a couple of changes that I would like to do to the front end design of the GR Corolla, more in line with the Yaris Corolla, and that is, you see this line that goes here, and we have this corner piece in this area. What I want to do is just have this line continue straight down and cut into this area, so we have a nice one single straight line instead of having this corner piece here. Tiny detail in the front end. Another detail that I want to change here is, you see these intakes on the side, these are actually functional, which is really cool by Toyota, but I want to have it be a little bit more dynamic, so a little bit more triangular shape in this area down low. Now I said this when I first saw the Corolla hatchback, that I thought it was a beautiful design, even without the GR package that we have here. We have a very clear indication that this is a Toyota with this daytime run light that looks beautiful and very dynamic because it does have a little bit of a different thickness in the side here, and it stretches all the way in to almost connecting with the logo in the middle. Everything here, you see this big grille. Normally companies put big grills like this just for styling purposes, but in this case everything here is functional. We do have regulations that say that you need to have some sort of bar right here behind all this that is sort of a structural piece, so the center piece right in this area is covered up, but everything above it and everything below it, and also these two small intakes right next to the logo, everything is functional. I think it looks so good with the red, this supersonic red. Then you have the blacked out graphics in the front end and also the blacked out wheels, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Now coming up close and personal with the headlight design of the GR Corolla, you do have full LEDs with this indicator light that also is the daytime light as we talked about. We have a different thickness in the bottom piece, and then we have full LED lighting, and I do love all the sculptures that we have here. For example, this chamfer, also very dynamic because it goes from thin up here into thicker for the base of the headlight. Just looks beautiful, and then it goes back into thin chamfer in this area of the headlight, creating a nice housing or framing for the headlight design. And it's details like that that I feel is starting to go away, and we're turning into more of a flush design where everything, the headlights and everything, just sits super flush with the body. I actually prefer when we have some sort of styling features for these details because it creates, as I said, a nice housing and framing for those essential details such matches the headlights and the taillights. Now coming around to the side view of the Gazoo Racing Corolla, and this is where you clearly can see that something is going on with this if you compare it to the normal Corolla. For example, you do have this wide body kit, and what I love about this wide body kit is that all the lines, for example, the normal body lines that we have in the Corolla, nice line flow here. It connects with the taillight, the corner of the taillight right here, and then you have these new lines that you need to add when you add more pieces and body parts onto the car. However, what Toyota did here is they implemented some line flow in these pieces as well. For example, this lower piece down here now cuts in and has a connection to this piece, so it doesn't just look like some external or some aftermarket thoughts that they added onto the car. Instead, they implemented everything into the overall design. Same goes for this line flow right here with the shoulder line cutting underneath the window line and then cutting into this beautiful graphic feature that is a functional air slot in the front fender. Of course, also adding width here, but you can see how the shoulder line cuts into this new fender and then creates a nice, again, framing and chamfer for this piece that we have in the front fender. It really feels like they put a lot of effort into implementing this new design and these new fenders into the overall design of the Corolla hatchback. Personally, I've always been a fan of hatchbacks, specifically performance hatchbacks like this. I wish we had more of these in the United States, and I really hope that this will sell really well, so maybe we get more manufacturers bringing over the European hot hatches over to the States. But I think now when you're looking at it from this view, you can see more of the line flow. We also have the blacked out side mirrors here with the indicator integrated in the side mirror itself, blacked out trim piece going around the window. However, one thing that's missing here that I definitely want to have on my GR Corolla is the big spoiler in the back to send off the roof line in a very nice way. This being the core version, we don't have the forged carbon fiber roof that you get on the Morizo edition, but that's also only built in 200 examples. The wheels and tire setup, we do have 18-inch wheels here. I love this design. These multi-spoke designs that we have here, it just adds a timeless feeling to the wheel design themselves. These are 235s all around, and you have 18-inch wheels. Nice width on these tires. It makes the car look planted in addition to the big fenders, of course. But the overall design, having black wheels here, I actually think it suits this car. Same with the Civic Type R that I reviewed just a while ago. It also had the black wheels in addition to all the other black features that we have added onto the car. It just comes together in a nice way. Now, all the way down at the bottom, since we do have these bigger fenders, we need to come up with a way of connecting these fenders in the bottom section. We do have that beautifully done here by Toyota again in this nice side skirt that we have here with the GR4 stamped into the rear. And when you take this side view in, I think this is probably one of the best looking added sort of aftermarket, even though it's not, but added piece wide body kit onto a production car, because everything flows so nicely. And as I said, the original line flow that we have in the body of the original non-GR hatchback, it follows now and has clear connections to what we have going on in these new fenders on the GR Corolla. Last but not least, of the exterior, we do have this gorgeous rear end. Again, same thing as we had in the front end. If you look at this design, there is a lot of lines cutting all over the place of this rear end, but for some reason Toyota always managed to make all these lines look nice and look harmonic, and we do have the same feeling that we do in the front end. As I talked about, we do have the center logo right here, and look at this. Every single angle is pointing towards the center of the rear end. And I do think that's what brings all these line flow that we have here. It brings everything together in a very nice way. And underneath this big logo, you do have the rear mounted camera installed right in this plastic housing. Looking all the way down, we do have this massive, absolutely huge diffuser. I'm not sure if I would like to cut it somewhere here, have a bit more body color stretching further down and a more of a proper bumper, but I do think since this is the GR Corolla, it kind of works to have a big diffuser like this. But I want you to look at the exhaust pipe setup that we have here. We have two dual exhausts on the side, and then you have the middle section being almost an oval exhaust housed in this big diffuser, as we talked about, with these integrated wings right here. And you also have the reflector light. You don't have any sort of air vents here like we have in the front end. Instead, it's a reflector light. However, you do have two air vents in this area, so one here and one on the other side. I'm not entirely entirely sure what these do, but if you look in here, it's clearly a hollow piece that goes all the way into the metal of the bumper. Looking at the taillight design here, I love that it has the same connection that we do in the front end. So we have this same design or styling that we do in the front headlights, daytime run lights, and you also have these nice, beautiful lines that cuts into the body itself. You have a nice chamfer above it, going below it as well, fading into this area, creating a more of a dynamic feeling for it. And then this piece itself sticks out from the body, creating this 3D effect of the taillights, looking fantastic. I think Toyota overall, with the exterior design of the GR, Corolla, and the Corolla hatchback itself, the basic version, I think that it just looks like a very clean design that I feel like the designers had a lot of fun designing, since we do have all these lines going all over this body, but it still, in Toyota fashion, works very well. We talked about the exterior design of the beautiful 2023 GR Corolla. Let's jump in and have a look what's going on with this interior right here. So we do have a 12.3-inch gauge cluster, looking pretty nice because it does have a beautiful housing to it. We do have soft touch material up top, and then we have sort of like a dual housing with this harder shell inside of it. Looking nice. I do like when we just have something like this, as you know, just a cap for it. We do have a 9-inch infotainment screen that is pretty basic. There's really not a lot to do in here, but you can connect your phones, you have the music, you have the navigation and so on, so it works pretty well. However, this integration here is something that I think Toyota could work on. Even though this is not, you know, a super expensive car, it starts at $37,000 for the core version like we have right here. So I understand that not everything can be absolutely premium materials, but having this border, this gloss black border, just looks a little cheap to me, but it's okay. Further down, we do have these vents, super easy to use. We have the hazard button right there in the middle, and we have one zone climate control, which is again totally fine for me. I don't care to have dual zones in a car like this because it's so small, it doesn't really matter. You have the controls for the temp on this dial to the left, and you have the control for the fan speed right there on the right. Pretty simple. And you have where you want the air to come out from by pressing this button in the middle. Overall, a pretty nice integration of everything that goes on in here. We do have the same type of flow in the lines that we do have in the exterior coming back in the interior. This gloss black piece up top with 2 additional vents on each side, of course. Further down, we do have a wireless charger, pretty big. Doesn't really have a super grippy surface to it, but I'm sure with this border that goes around it, the phone is not going to go anywhere. You have a USB-C right here, and this is where you select the drive mode. So you click this up and down, and we do have custom, sport, normal, and eco. I'm gonna, of course, this being a GR, I don't really understand why there even should be any other options than sport. Manual transmission here. 6-speed manual transmission. It feels pretty good. I do wish it had a bit more weight to it. It just feels pretty light to just work through the gears, but it's still very much fun to drive this with the manual transmission. Putting it into reverse, gonna pop off the backup camera. Not the super crisp resolution. Again, I don't care because you're still gonna see the GMC Yukon that is sitting behind of you, so you don't reverse into it. Now, one really cool thing, this core version that we have right here is equipped with the limited slip diff in the front and rear. I think that is about like $1,200, $1,300 option, and then the optional paint as well, supersonic red. But what this does is you can choose if you want front bias or rear bias for the power delivery. So you can see right here in the lower section here how it goes from 60/40 to 30/70. 30/70, of course, being more of a rear wheel drive feel. If you want to put it into drift mode, you do that. Or if you just want to go for daily driving, you have 60 power to the front, 60% power to the front, and 40 to the rear. I like to keep it in 30/70 because I do prefer it be a little bit rear wheel biased. Then you have this pretty normal e-brake, also very, very analog. I love the analog feel that we have. I think we need more cars like this. I said that about a Civic as well. They're just fun to drive. It doesn't need to be a $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 car to have a lot of fun, even with a 3-cylinder like we have in this case. We do have 2 cup holders here, no armrest, which is something that I'm missing because I definitely want to have something to rest my arm on, specifically on longer drives. These seats looking pretty cool. They do have a lot of bolstering to them. Fabric, as you can see, no leather in these seats. We do have the GR embroidered into the headrest, and I do like the muscular feel that we have on this design. design for these seats, looking very nice. The seats themselves are manually adjustable, and you know what? It's totally fine for me as well, because the thing is, I'm only gonna adjust the seats once, so why would I want to add weight with having electric motors that I'm never essentially going to use, except for the one time I'm setting it in for myself. Looking at the steering wheel, a pretty traditional looking Toyota steering wheel. You do have the controls for the cruise control settings right here on the right spoke. On the left spoke, you do have the customization for the screen. So if you hold this, you see that we can customize the center portion to show us whatever we want. I like to have it in which gear I'm in, and you can also customize the side areas to show you different information. I like to have it in the turbo boost right there and the G meter to the right. Also have the volume control here, voice command, and a nice little GR logo here to make this a little bit different and special from regular Toyotas. Looking at the stocks, pretty basic stocks as well. I kind of like the design because look at this, we do have a nice ellipse going around here. So it has some of that styling from the exterior comes back in the interior as well. Same goes for the light controls on the left side. Up top, naturally, this being a GR Corolla, you want to keep the weight down so we don't have a sunroof. Completely fine by me. But with that said, let's jump into the back. I think it's going to be pretty tight, but let's see if I can fit behind my own driving position at 6'1". So jumping in to the rear seats of a Toyota hatchback. Let's see, I haven't done this before. This is the first time. If I can actually fit back here, and honestly, for this type of package, you can see how much legroom I have. If I sit straight with my knees like this, it's gonna be pretty tight, but I rather sit like this, so it's totally fine. Headroom is surprisingly good as well. There's a lot of room here, not complaining about that. And we do have, if we fold this down in the middle, you can see that we do have two cup holders integrated in the center armrest. Besides this, there's not really a lot going on here. You do have one USB-C here and a 12-volt cigarette outlet in the back. Let's put it in 30-70, so we have 70% of the power to the rear wheels, and let's put it into sport, and let's take the 2023 GR Corolla for a drive. Oh, it's so much fun! Like, seriously fun. I've been driving a lot of cars here on the channel, a lot more expensive than $37,000, but honestly, very few of them have been more fun than this. Oh yeah. What I love about this, compared to the Honda Civic Type R, which I drove just last week, and what I said in that video is having 315 horsepower. This one is 300. And all of that power being sent to the front wheels only created a lot of... It started to jump a little bit, and it's hard to find traction in the front end of the Civic. But since we thankfully have the all-wheel drive here in the Corolla GR, no problems at all putting down 300 horsepower in this car. 0 to 60 is about 4.9 seconds. Not bad at all. It's quicker than the Honda Civic Type R because it weighs a lot less. It weighs just over 3,000 pounds, 3,200 pounds. And, you know, that is what makes... Weight is the killer of fun when it comes to cars. You can have the heaviest Mercedes with 800 horsepower, but you can't. You're still gonna feel the weight of the car. It doesn't matter how much power you have. And here you have 300 horsepower in just over 3,000 pounds. So much fun to drive. And this being just a 3-cylinder, honestly, it sounds very happy to rev. It's very rev happy. And I'm surprised. It feels like a 4-cylinder for sure. You would never think that this is just a 3-cylinder if you drive this. And how they managed to pump up 300 horsepower from a 3-cylinder. Of course, it does have the turbo, but still, quite an achievement. Oh, it grips so nicely as well. One thing I do wish that we did hear more from is the turbo. I want to have a wastegate. Yes, some childish like that. I do want to hear those noises in the car because it just adds to the driving experience. If I compare this to the Honda Civic Type R, which one is more fun to drive? That is a very, very hard question. But I'm gonna have to go. If I were to buy one, the Civic Type R is $44,000 base. This is $37,000 base. And I just love it. I love this car more than I love the Honda Civic Type R. I love both styling of those two cars. The Honda Civic Type R grew up, got a lot more subtle, nicer, cleaner lines, and specifically compared to the way over stylized previous generation. And here we have a lot more lines. It's a lot more complex in this design, but it's in the Toyota fashion. It's in Toyota's philosophy, meaning that you can have a bunch of lines like we have in this car, but it still works. It's still a fantastic, gorgeous looking little hatchback. And I also like it in the supersonic red. So if I were to buy one, I would go with this one simply because it has, I think the key factor being that this has all-wheel drive. Right now, today, when we have a lot more EVs, they all look pretty much the same. They're starting to differentiate a little bit and not have this soap bar. But when it comes to cars like this in 2023, I'm a fan of everything that is different. And I'm definitely a fan of every single car that tries to bring back that old analog feel in their cars, like this one and like the Honda Civic Type R, and I would guess the Golf R as well, with the manual transmission, even though that's a little bit more refined than this. And refined in this segment of car is not a positive to me. I want to have it be more rugged, and it doesn't matter if it's some creaky noise in here. I think this piece up here is creaking sometimes. I don't care. It reminds me of old cars that were so much fun to drive, and we've lost that in modern cars. But thankfully, Toyota, Honda, and a couple of other brands, they still know how to make cars like this. Listen to that little 3-cylinder. If I were to buy one of these, which one of the trim levels would I go for? So this is the core. This is the base one that we have here. Then we have the Circuit Edition, which comes standard with the limited slip differential and the heated steering wheel and stuff like that. A couple small features. And then you have the Morizo, which you essentially can't get because they only built very, very few of them. What I would buy is the very base. Like we have, I would actually buy the exact car that I'm driving here, meaning that we do have the Core Edition, the Base Edition, and we also have the package, the $1,200, $1,300 option. I do believe that's what it cost, with the limited slip differential in the front and rear, and with the supersonic red, which is also an option for this car. So this, what I'm driving here, is the exact GR Corolla that I would personally buy. The Core Edition with the limited slip differential option and the supersonic red.